So welcome everybody to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Tuesday, March the 2nd, 2021, and our calling number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you in the queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. There was, while I'm waiting on Michael to dial in, one time when we were living in the condo before Ryan and Gabby started living there, and we had mice come in, and I swear it was the same mouse. I had a live trap, so I would catch it. I would take it out to a field and let it go, and then reset the trap again. Every day for like 7 days, I caught one. And I finally told it the last day that I took it out in the live trap, I said, okay, if you are the same mouse, I said, tonight I'm setting a death trap, not a life trap. So I said, you need to just stay out here. Well, the next day I had one in the regular mouse trap. And after that, there were no more. So it was the same mouse that just kept coming back. And, you know, I could not have it in the kitchen because it was crawling around in the cabinets and chewing holes in flour and meal and different things. And so, I mean, it had to stay outside. So I gave it like 7 chances, and then I finally did set the death trap and caught it. So, you know, there's times when we have to set boundaries, I guess, and, you know, we can talk to it and try to make a deal with it, but, you know, it's that's one of those cases where I say, you know, well, it can't live in the house. So we had to do something about that one. But anyway, welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. Honored and delighted that you're here with us today as we step forward to the next level of understanding and applying first-century Aramaic forgiveness and all of the corollary tools that bring this absolutely amazing technology into view and into, what should I say, into the grasp, the reach of every mind, heart, and being on the planet. You know, our ultimate vision has been for decades to make this more and more available, and so we are blessed by this technology that allows us to bring this forward on a global scale. You know, anybody in the world that's got access to the internet can now watch all of our videos. If you weren't aware of that, the videos have all been converted to streaming service and are now online and available through our catalog. If you go there, and thank you, Darren, for your support and helping to put that together. We've now got intensive availability online. We're in the middle of our second 14-week online codependence to interdependence communication practicum intensive. All in all, just in deep appreciation for everything that we have, especially in these COVID times where the world has gotten so crazy, these political times where the upheaval is so huge and so gigantic that we're here to make the technology available to settle your mind, free your mind from all forms of hostility or fear, living, you know, learning to live in this world but not be of this world, that our behavior, our thoughts, our actions, our attitudes, our state of being is not sourced by the world, but rather sourced from our state of being, from functioning as a human being. You know, I had a download recently which has kind of been reinforced in realizing that life, and I'm not just talking about human life, I'm talking about life, is the movement of love through a cell. And when love is moving through a cell, that cell is as vital and as alive, as strong, as bulletproof with immunity as you can get. But when we allow inhibiting energies to come in, and Jeanie and I were talking about this the other day, and I was thinking about the animal realm. You know, if you think about any baby animal, it is life. Love is moving through. I mean, they look at the tiger, the lion, they're so cute, so sweet, and the presence of love that's there. And then you watch humans or you watch animals who start out as this presence of love. And if you've ever held a newborn child and tapped into the energy of that child, you know exactly what love is. And you know that the child isn't loving you. You know that the child is love. You hold a cub lion. It's not that the lion loves you. Life is moving through a cell, and it is love. Now, as the lion grows and it turns its life over to carbon-based memory, you may not think of the lion so much as connected to love. And sadly, as you look at what we call human beings, just because one has a physiological device called a body-mind unit that looks human doesn't mean there's human life in there. There isn't human life in there until love is moving fully through it. And when we allow that love to be displaced, oftentimes by generational patterns, just like the lion in the wild, that cub starts out with that presence flowing through it, but, 2 years later, you might not want to approach that lion because it's training, the patterns stored in physiology have taken over, and maybe they're not so love-based. And sadly, with parent humans, over a period of time, you'll notice that oftentimes the behaviors stored as generational patterns are more linked to hostility and fear than to love. And our message with that is to recognize that that is not a requirement. It is a habit on the planet. It's taken over virtually every life on the planet. You listen to people, that made me mad, that made me sad, they hurt me, they upset me, you really have a problem. But of course, the question I ask there is, if they're the one with the problem, why am I the one with the pain? If I've got pain going on, my structure is warning me that I am voiding myself of life. My structure is telling me that I put an inhibitor into a cell that, what's the best word to use? I guess simply inhibits the flow of love through that cell, closes down the flow of love in the cell. And when love closes down in the cell goes into a death spiral. And pain is a warning that that's what we're doing to ourselves. And we can, with the technology that we now have out of the first century Aramaic language, the technology called forgiveness, we now know precisely how to remove that. Not an easy process to do. If you think of the flow of love as life, and if people have lost themselves, lost their lives, the presence of love in them, to hostility, fear, rage, guilt, grief, drama, trauma, blame, upset, disturbance, if they've lost that, they think that that's just the way it is out there, rather than realizing that that's just the way it is in here, and that they can take charge of that. Now, once somebody gets the insight, I could take charge of that and change that, of course, everybody wants to be there yesterday and with zero effort. Oh, great, okay, I'll take 2 bags of it, please. Well, unfortunately, you can't buy it. You've got to earn it. And you earn it by doing your work, by stepping up to the plate and realizing if there is hostility or fear inhibiting the flow of love, the flow of life through your cellular structure, you have a problem, and there's a work for you to do. Now, there's a whole belief system on the planet promoted by some, oftentimes churches, that, there's nothing you can do about it. And they base that on conversations on Greek ideas put into the mouth of this man named Yeshua, and this belief there's nothing you can do. But if you go back and listen to the man himself, he says there's plenty you can do. And if you found yourself steeped in, rage and guilt and grief and fear, then it's going to take work. If you look back, if you look at the sources of the energetic patterns of rage and grief and fear and hatred and vengeance in your bloodline, if you look at the source of those patterns in your culture, then you realize that they're pretty pervasive. And you can say, I want to be rid of all that yesterday, but you can't do that. 2,000 years ago, they had the same dilemma. Oh, yeah, okay, I like it. I want it. And they said, you can't storm the gates. And by the way, where the Greeks translated a certain phrase as the kingdom of heaven out of the ancient Aramaic scriptures, it doesn't say that at all. What it says is the community of love. You can't join the community of love with the mind and a carbon-based memory system being your body-mind unit with stored memories of generations and generations and generations. You can't just hop on board and say, well, I'm going to be part of the community of love now. Because the reactions with you, the energetic patterns stored within your structure that have been running for generation upon generation. You'll go back to that story about the Jews wandering in the desert for 40 years. And then tell me if you really believe that this bright group of people who understood astronomy very well and knew where the sun rose and where the sun set, you tell me that they were lost in a 35 square mile area for 40 years, and I'll tell you that's pretty bizarre to even start to believe. The desert is a code word for the unconsciousness of hostility and fear and the loss of human life. And you remember, if you read through those passages in the Old Testament, they said that in order to get out of the desert into the promised land, and the promised land was nothing more than the land of conscious co-creation, rather than creating unconsciously out of the patterns of hostility and fear, what did they say had to happen? They said the old generation had to die off. Now, I've heard people explain that meant they couldn't let the old people in, they all had to die. No. The root of the word generation is genari. It means cause. All of the causes held in the mind had to be removed. Yeshua gave that assignment, and when he gave that assignment to a group of his disciples, half of his disciples turned around and walked away and said, too hard a saying. Too hard. I don't want to do that. But there's a work to be done. And what we've spent I've in particular spent the last 50 years decoding is those Aramaic scriptures, actually 40 of those 50 years, decoding from the Aramaic how to approach and how to do that piece of work. And the key tool in the process, of course, once again, is forgiveness. And realizing that forgiveness means removal, not letting somebody off the hook because there's something moving in you. If there is hostility or fear moving in you, restricting the flow of love through yourselves and restricting your life flow, then forgiveness is the removal of that which restricts. And that, when removed, is how love is restored, because love is what wants to flow through our structure. It's what our structure is designed for. It's what our very nature is. It's the very nature of the Creator that created us. And sadly, quite often, we've gone another way. Not knowing any better, we thought, a little hostility, a little rage, a little fear, a little guilt, a little grief, a little condemnation, a little gossip, a little slander, a little vengeance, a little more of the old generation, the power person dynamic of what my power person did to me that I hated the most. Well, that never hurt anybody. Excuse me. It's the only thing that's ever killed anybody. And I could use that word as anybody or anybody, B-O-D-Y, because it is the inhibition of the flow of love through a cell that literally kills a cell. You get enough cells dying, and life is over in that form. So in a nutshell, that's what we are here to understand and to bring forward the tools for making that a realistic possibility. And we are delighted and honored that you're here to be part of this conversation. And if you're out there in listener land and you are on one of those stations where we can't see you in our control panel, and you have a question, a request for support, then by calling 563-999-3581, you will have access to both Jeanie and myself right now in the first hour of the show with Dr. Kim, and we're here to answer questions and support you in your process. So, Miss Jeanie, do we have anybody out there in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
We have two hands up, and the first one is Susan Bingham. Hi there, young lady.
Oh, well, let's
Thank
say
you
hello
for
to
the
young
dragon.
Oh, those
welcome.
dragons are awesome.
Tim Bingham says
one.
he likes the black and white one the best, and I think I do too. But you can make screenshots and use them any old way you want.
That's sweet.
Okay.
That was pretty cool.
I
Jeanie was
sent you a
showing
text.
me today.
I sent you a text this morning asking if we could use your rose and butterfly one on the website.
Thanks. Yeah, sure you can. I answered you in the Facebook thing. I didn't see a text message, but yeah, sure. So I have a couple of questions. Michael, I've been doing the homework of listening again to the links, the videos that Jeanie sends out. That's so handy to have them sent out. And quick question, Jeanie, did you edit those? Because they seem to be less, can you hear me now, and stuff like that, and push your mute buttons and stuff like that. Or did you not? Because they seem quite good.
Oh, good.
That way.
No, I didn't. About the only thing that I edited out of any of them were I separated your exercise ones into a separate video. But I think after we did so many, that people started getting the hang of it a little bit, so we didn't have to do that quite as often.
Yeah, right. Okay. Two questions, and maybe these are appropriate for the actual Wednesday night meeting. I don't know. But the first one is, at one point in the I think it was in the 2-hour one, Anne spoke about a revelation she had about a situation in her childhood. And I hadn't understood it at the time, so I went back and listened again, and I didn't understand it. And then when it popped up this time, I thought, well, now I'm going to really use the brain cells, because, Michael, you hopped right on. You said, good insight, excellent. And she seemed to have gotten something out of it, but for the life of me, I've listened twice more. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I apologize. I do not recall. No.
Well, there's no reason why you should, but she had some kind of a situation with inappropriate behavior, a girlfriend when she was young or something like that. And she said, then I went on as an adult and did the same thing. She didn't explicate what that was, but she had an insight, and you caught it, and you said, excellent, and it all went by. And maybe if Anne isn't on, maybe she'll be on this Wednesday. It seemed like something important that I just want to understand. So we can just let that sit since you don't remember.
Okay.
The second one is, you said something, never heard it this way. You said, do not pay attention to your feelings. Now, I have already learned from you that feelings are like messengers, and if you don't feel good, you've got some work to do, and they're telling you that something is amiss, and you can do some work on it, Mind Shifter or one of the tools. But you said don't pay attention to them. You've also said that in the short moment, the immediate moment when something comes up and your hackles are up or whatever it is, you can do a very short worksheet in your head, identifying a goal, looking at your emotion and owning it as yours. The crux of what I'm trying to say is, it seemed quite powerful that you said pay no attention to your feelings. That seemed like a tremendous permission to have a feeling and not be in any way shackled by it. It's just a thing like a hangnail. It's just there, and it's not to be given any particular energy or power. You notice it. That's all I wanted to say is sometimes you'll say a word and suddenly something gets unlocked. Even though I've heard the idea, it'll be said a certain way and something moves
Brain cells click.
to a shift. Yeah, the brain cells click in.
Yeah. Well,
So
and the mind can't serve up an insight until it's got the brain cells for that insight. So it can be said 100,000 times, but until the brain cells are there, carbon-based memory can't present a perceptual construct that matches what's being presented. So that's why we don't hear it, and then finally it clicks. Now, my offering would be, I don't recall ever, and if I did say it, I was mistaken, and I would shift my language. I don't think I ever said don't pay attention to feelings.
Mm-hmm.
My offering would be that give up any kind of behavior based on your feelings. Instead of letting your feelings run you, if a feeling comes, I would say pay close attention to it. So if I actually said that, it was mistaken language, I would say pay close attention to it, look behind it, and instead of following the prompting of the feeling, touch into the thought behind it, and if it's a disordered thought, then apply forgiveness and remove it, rather than being run by your feelings.
Oh, I agree, and I get it. And your teaching of us beforehand made it quite clear that you weren't saying anything like feelings are nothing and pay no attention insofar as they're not useful. I had already understood, and I think we all had, that feelings are very useful and necessary to notice. But if they're not good feelings, they are errors, and they're information for us to do work on to clear. So I don't think, even if you might have said it wrong, and I should go back, but I'm not going to because life is too short, to go back and find that very little moment. Just interesting that having you say it that way may have been not intended, and how I heard it might have been wrong, but the brain cells woke up. Yay!
You got it.
Kind of God.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And I heard that ants have been giving you an opportunity to learn to forgive guilt. How great a gift from a little ant.
I know it. Well, isn't
that wonderful?
It's nice to give up guilt, but you give up guilt. I mean, this is still on my mind. You give up guilt, okay, and you apologize to the ants, and then you clobber the ants. And so there's the fact of clobbering the ants. I'm going to do what Magda said. I'm going to have another talk with the ants. And I've been allowing them to hang out in certain numbers. But when they are like a whole, like the part of the shelf is black with ants because there was a drop of something left, then that's going too far. So
there's a wonderful little book. Wonderful little book.
You told me about that book.
Kinship with All Life. Yeah, pretty
right.
sweet.
I have that book, and I got into it a little and got distracted. I've got it. I should drag it out somewhere. Yeah, from somewhere. All these good books and movies, it's hard to keep up.
There's definitely lots of opportunities in the world to open and expand and learn and grow, and how sweet it is. We are so blessed.
Well, Michael, that reminds me of something else that you said the other day that was very helpful, but a challenge. You said, if things go as they should, I shouldn't even put it that way. You'd say the presence of a certain administration and president has given us a huge opportunity to take a look at our darker sides and to clean up some of the things that became resonated because this person was in office. And I remember reading, what's her name, that psychic woman who I've stopped listening to because it's too wild for me, but she said, some figures, like Hitler, for instance, I can use Hitler easily for this. These are actually very high souls, almost completely the highest angels, who have agreed to come to Earth to show us something that needs correcting, and they've been willing to take on a persona that is extremely unattractive, undesirable. They're doing us a huge service in doing that. They come to Earth to illustrate how we need to grow. You're right. That's what I did. I stopped listening after a while. But
yeah, I think twice about that one.
Good. I'm glad to hear you say that. But on the other hand, it seemed like an extension or another dimension to what you were saying, which is leave hate behind. Don't hate anybody. Just have a good look. Do your own work. Have a good look at all the feelings in you, because you're no different than that person if you have those ugly feelings, whether acting on them or not. This is your work to do. And then I thought, wow, if this is really a high angel come down, I wouldn't have been willing to do that. Talk about sacrifice. Anyway, I don't know what to do with that, but it's just different ways of looking at things that have been happening and finding a way to live with it in a healthy way. Virtually impossible as far as I'm concerned, but ongoing work.
Well, my take is, that the best way I've found to say it is that we have been shown our darkest underbelly. When we realize it's our underbelly we're dealing with, and we take on that as a piece of work, that will become an awesome gift. People who don't take on that work can become pretty bizarre and insane, which, we've observed happen, and violent and, murderous, and, it gets pretty bizarre. So for me, it's like, so if I have murderous, rageful, sad, hateful, terrifying, fear-inducing experiences in myself around what's happening, that's my call to do my work and clean up my underbelly, and then to come forward conscious as the presence of love and do the behaviors that I'm called to do within the preview of my purpose that help to bring a different experience to the world. And it might include, holding somebody accountable. I've shared before, one of my early mentors, Judge Asa D. Kelly, put a lot of people in prison. He was a Superior Court judge in Albany, Georgia. And, he put a lot of people away for a long time, but he never punished one of them. He didn't come from that space of punishment. It was safety in the community. And so to me, it's I do my work and then I do my part. And if each person does that, then when an outrageously bizarre behavior appears in the public realm, we get to clean it up in a hurry if we each do our work.
The miracles lesson for today is I am the light of the world. And we are all the light of the world. Even Dr. Tim was saying, when I pressed 1, he said, hello, light of the world. Well, the thing is, we could say that to that person, too. They are the light of the world. It's hard to put that together, but that's probably part of our work. Say something. I need you to say something.
My take would be, the Course is saying, here's the truth about you. If you're not living it, get off your buns and do your work. So that your reflection is a reflection of being the light of the world. Each and every one of us started out in exactly the same place as life, as love, designed to flow through a cell. If we came into a family system, a cultural system, a card-based memory system filled with hate and rage and fear and guilt, that light can get buried. For me, that lesson might be, in the context of this conversation, might be more correct to say, when I uncover and express as the truth of who I am the light of the world. But if I'm playing the hostility and fear game, I may be the darkness of the world.
Yeah, good. That's good.
And so I think it's talking about our creative state, our ideal state, the state we can be living from. And now, in the core of the course is forgiveness. If you see that your light is darkness, then get to work. Clean up your mirrors, clean up your lenses, recharge your batteries, and get about your true work of being the light of the world.
Right. Good. So, Michael, is anybody else's hand up? Because I got another thing, but I'm going to hand it over if somebody else's hand is up.
Well, we're at the point we've still got a half an hour, so why don't you go with your other thought, and then we'll go on and see what hands are there. Because our commitment is, if we're talking to you or you or you or you have our attention. So what's your thought?
Well, this is another response to rehearing one of the videos. Tim Hayes has been using an expanded section of the worksheet called Forgiveness Patter. You probably know what I'm talking about, where he stops right at the point where we ask God to show us. And he says, okay, stop, close the eyes, remember a time when you felt love and safe and so forth, remember a newborn or remember an animal, get yourself in a state, and you and I had a little bit of sparring going on there, and I misspoke on something. I'm not trying to correct that, but it occurred to me that what Tim has done is set a stage for Rachma to be installed if it hasn't been already. And then you go on with your worksheet. And I don't even know if you remember, there was another little interchange, and I was trying to push a point, and you were trying to make a point. And anyway, it wasn't the most elegant part of the discussion in one of those videos, but it seems as if for someone like me who has trouble slowing down, his forgiveness pattern section is practically essential. And you were saying you can go through the worksheet very fast, and I can, and I do, and I get a lot out of them, but sometimes I need to slow down right there.
Slow down.
Make sure, make sure Rachma's in there. And I love what you said about installing. Yeah.
My offering would be that Rachma is part of the package. It's there eternally for everyone. The key is getting it to be the active filter.
Right. Well, that's the
getting
thing. I
action
understand.
going.
That's
getting
a good correction.
Operation.
You said smile. You said how to do it, but this time you said smile and then feel the smiling energy going right up into your forehead or somewhere up there. That's a great little meditation. So anyway, okay, I've said my stuff.
Cool.
So,
all right, young lady, we appreciate you a lot.
Thanks for answering all those.
Blessings. All right. Very sweet. Well, thank you for the reviews and the keys and getting a chance to build the brain cells. Miss Jeanie, how are you, young lady?
Yes, good. We have two hands up. The first one, I believe, is Audrey, 520. You're on the air.
Yes.
Sweet. Welcome,
Hello.
young lady.
Good morning.
Good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are.
At the eternal now, wherever. I called to talk about one thing, but the previous caller was talking about feelings, and I was making no feelings.
Right.
And feelings are dichotomies. It's unhappy, we're happy. Okay, and I am journeying towards balance. And
I didn't understand that last sentence. Could you repeat that last sentence again? I didn't understand it. Your voice was a little bit muffled.
I am journeying towards balance, neither happy nor unhappy, because dichotomy. I am journeying towards acceptance, accept all, allow all, and balance. And what what has come up from me, it might feel silly to someone, but to me it is a stimulus object response, and it is bringing a discordant energy within my being.
Right.
Now, about 5 did this pottery, and I made a scuba diver for my ex-husband, who transitioned October 25th last year.
Right.
I brought the little object into my house, and it was moved, and all of a sudden I'm looking at this little object of a scuba diver. Now we're talking about object, the stimulus, and object response.
Right.
And my response to this object was grief and loss. Wait, just a minute. Hold on. See with you later. Okay, that's not you, Michael. So it was grief and loss.
So if I understood correctly, let me see if I'm clear. So if I understood correctly, this object, which was a symbol for your former husband, aroused in you both thoughts of care and concern and connectedness and thoughts of perhaps something based in hostility or fear. Is that what I understood?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the word holding a baby, which is love, and not in that space now. And I'm even resistant. To do the worksheet.
So am I hearing you say that there's hostility or fear moving in you in response to this symbol, and there's a part of you that wants to hold on to that?
I don't want to let go of my desire to be right. And my right is to own. My right is to own my separation. My right is to own my unhappiness. To get down to the truth is I want to be right instead of...
I hear you. So then what I'm understanding is that there's a part of you that would just be delighted to restrict the flow of love through your structure and reduce your life force. And that seems more important to you than life itself.
At where I am right now, yes. To be perfectly honest, yes. In theory,
I hear you.
In theory, I know that there's no separation. He is love as much as he is in his spirit realm, as I am in my spirit realm. But at this point, I am feeling angry.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm feeling angry for myself that I'm left.
So my question to you now, then,
an illusion.
Yeah, and you realize that, but you're liking the illusion.
Absolutely.
Okay. So my question to you would be, what is the pain that you don't want to embrace and look at? Because remember, anger is not a feeling. Anger is an anesthetic. It's a drug. And I got that you want to hold on to that drug. And what that says to me is that I don't want to feel this pain that lies underneath it.
Right. Maybe it's the journey of going from point A to point C, of getting balance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling the illusion of the separation. I'm not quite even sure if I'm up to the point of doing a worksheet.
Right. I hear you. Well, that's your right. You can hang out with that as long as you like. That's certainly, you're right. The thought I would put before you is to recognize that the action that you're taking is reducing your own life. And whatever the underlying thing is that you don't want to embrace and deal with, is it worth it?
Michael,
I understand how it happens.
So
I've been there, done that.
You're so smart. You're right on target. I mean, I know that you're right on target, and yet I have to get to the point of forgiveness, dismantle, let go, and peace will be there because peace always is there.
Yeah.
And have you come with people such as me? Every once in a while, they're just resistant and says, "No, I choose to be miserable for a while."
I don't need to talk about other people. I can talk about me. I've been there, done that. No question about it. We all have. Sure. I mean, when there's something underneath that's so, and it's unconscious, but there's a part of us that knows how painful it's going to be to embrace. It's like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to feel that. And remember, in Aramaic, the word Satan does not mean the dude with the red suit, the tail, and the pitchfork. It means the resistor, one who misleads. Right. And you've heard me say over and over and over again, most of the world is quite literally, in the Aramaic sense, trapped in Satan. They're in resistance, and they've got a story they can tell themselves to lead themselves away from the truth they need to face and deal with. And that story is preferable to having to feel what they're going to have to feel if they up their honoring of truth and are willing to deal with it. So, it might just be a space for you to ask Ruka for some support in moving to the next level of your healing process. It might be appropriate if it's something that, I assume the reason you're bringing it up is because there's a part of you that would like to work through it, and you might just ask Ruka for support and having some willingness.
That's it, right, because mindset that I am in right now, I do not possess the capacity of the egoic mind to address it. So
I breathe with you.
For guidance, if I ask for guidance, I will receive because I do believe in that.
You will, and it'll break loose. And as it breaks loose, an interesting or a good thing to remember is when you realize that underneath this anesthetic, this drug called anger, there's something painful, that whatever it is, you survived the entrance of that energy into your field when it occurred. And when you embrace it and choose to apply forgiveness to it, you'll survive it coming out the other side. And what you'll be experiencing is not pain, but a memory of pain. We can kind of, when we know there's something of an old painful experience and up it comes, I can make an error in my mind and re-empower it as though, here I am, I'm back in that pain again, as opposed to, oh, here I am breathing and I'm embracing this memory of pain that is being held in my tissue structure and creating destruction, and I can embrace this memory and I can process through this energy and let loose of it, be finished with it. Whether we're experiencing it consciously or unconsciously, it's still there being experienced. We trick ourselves when we go into resistance of, well, see, if I don't look at it, I can pretend it's not there. Well, there's a part of your tissue structure that's experiencing it right now and experiencing long-term interference with love in you right now, even though you're not letting yourself experience it. When you allow the experience to come, the memory to come, and you do that in the presence of love and allow yourself to process through it, then the part of your structure, and I don't care what it is, it might be in your gut, it might be in your jaw, it might be in your fist, I don't know, but wherever it is, the tissue will be able to open and it will experience great relief when you let it go. And you won't, while you're experiencing it unconsciously, you probably won't be aware of that, but once you let it go, you'll go, oh, man, oh, what a relief. I didn't even know I was holding on to that.
Yes, yes. Thank you for explaining this. And up comes a point where I have to be gentle with myself and say, okay, if you're not up to it, Audrey, you're not up to it. But it will happen if you ask guidance to help you.
Yes, absolutely.
And thank you. Blessings.
And know that right now, at this moment, there's a whole community of people all over the globe that are listening to your voice and are here holding a space for you to uplift and support you in your willingness and your ability to process through whatever it is that's going on.
Oh, I thank everybody because we're all connected, and it's all love. Thank you very much. Blessings.
All right, young lady, we appreciate you and your willingness. Enjoying you and your willingness and your courage. All right, blessings. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sweet pieces of work.
Yeah. Well, we've got another hand up, and I believe that it is Miss Roma, 808. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hey, welcome. Aloha, young lady. How are you today?
Oh, well, I've been processing something that it began at the end of the Wednesday night session last week.
Right.
I don't remember what was going through my mind, if anything, but I did begin to sob and cry toward the end of the session. And then the next day, I was talking to one of our ministers who is a very illumined being. And I was telling her about, I was telling her about my career as a singer and recalling the Met auditions, which I had already run. I had already won the first round of, and was on my second round audition, which was held at the Juilliard Opera Theater. And I was describing the structure of that theater, which is that there's a semicircular stage which is surrounded by the audience who are above you looking down at you on the stage. And I recalled, before I walked out onto the stage that day, I was in magnificent voice. And I walked out on the stage, and I got triggered by the structure of standing beneath the people who were judging me from above. Right. There were 5 or 6 people sitting above me looking down. And
in judgment of you.
Yeah, my judges, the judges.
Right. Okay.
That was their job. And as I was sharing this experience with my minister friend last Thursday, I suddenly saw myself standing in the Roman Colosseum.
So memory came?
Yeah. Memory of being in the Roman Colosseum. Standing there.
Breathe.
Holding husband's hand, lifetime, was John Copeland.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
bless your heart and his too.
oh God. We were holding hands. And suddenly I began noticing that the eyes of the people above me were looking at my hand. And so I looked at my hand. And I still had his hand in my hand. But he wasn't there.
We lost your voice there. You trailed off.
His body was no longer there.
Hmm.
I was still holding his hand, but the lion had gotten him. Yeah. Oh. And I regretted sharing that with her so deeply that I didn't want to call. I didn't want to have to tell you. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want others to perceive that perception, the experience. I didn't want to share it.
Take a breath. Notice where your body's tightening up. And just allow it to soften. And let it open.
Yep. My shoulders. And I'm going to stretch my
Critical for
legs.
support.
Yeah, I was in the fetal position. Oh.
So breathing with you. And supporting and letting loose of this memory.
Yeah. I'm surprised that I pressed 1 today because it wasn't my intention prior.
Well, it must be time, young lady, to let that one loose.
Yeah.
For your sake and for John's.
I don't think I was there too much longer.
Say that again. Your voice is cutting in and out a little bit.
Standing there for very much longer after that. I think I was gone after that. Soon after that.
Yeah.
But
so that'll be a big relief to not have to carry that load in carbon-based memory anymore.
right. Yeah. Thank God for the breath. Huh?
So we join you in a space of connectedness and of love. And as that memory or any memory comes, just, holding you in our hearts and creating a space of support to be able to breathe and access and let loose of that whole thought pattern, wherever it comes from.
What does that mean? Is wherever it comes from.
Just, is it a memory of something that actually occurred? Possibly. Is it your mind's way of opening to hold to process something that otherwise you couldn't process without this image? It might be that. Is it something genetic? There are many sources that an appearance like that can come from. And I'm just saying that, open to embrace all the possibilities so that you can process through and fully bring that whole energetic pattern and the suffering, the pain of it, to the presence of love and let it move through and let it go. Literally forgiving that energetic pattern, because that's a big load to carry in tissue.
I'm experiencing some of it in this lifetime too, because
your voice is cutting in and out. I can't follow your sentence.
I'm re-experiencing some aspect of that with him in this lifetime too, because he is on this island, but inaccessible to me because his new partner feels so jealous of me that she restricts any kind of communication between us.
Yeah.
And so there's a sense of grief and loss there too.
Well, we know you can go inside and carry out that communication. And grief and loss come from thought disorders based in fear and separation, and those two are forgivable. And once you've cleared that out of your field, you can think of John and be at perfect peace in the presence of love, rather than those unresolved thought disorders running your structure.
So what is the next step for me to do in order to clear this lifetime's pain?
I would say it's time once again to put the pen to the paper, and what would your goal be for the woman who is currently his partner? And I'd be looking at canceling that goal. What's the goal? Perhaps there's a goal for John to override her wanting to control. You might want to be canceling that goal, or goals that correlate with that. And let yourself process through the last vestiges of grief between you and he.
So processing my goals for the two of them.
Yes.
Release my goals for the two of them, for each one of them. Okay.
Yeah. And perhaps for yourself as well. Just the goal you have for yourself to be able to have closure in communication might be a goal that as you cancel it, you can clean out another piece of that suffering.
Right. Okay, my goal for Okay, very good. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. So
you are very welcome and deserving. And we're delighted to be here to support you. And I really acknowledge your willingness. I've watched you, especially over the last year. You've really opened some super huge spaces of willingness. And so nice work.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, young lady.
Okay. Aloha.
Blessings. Aloha.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're down to the last minute or so. Joan Tufts just posted in our intensive WhatsApp page a note with a picture of an ape saying, and thank you for this, Joan, it's cute, we can have gatherings of up to 5 people without issues. And the other ape is saying, I don't know if I even know 5 people without issues. People without issues. And the other ape is saying, I don't know if I even know 5 people without issues. So here we go. I love it when I get a magazine